November 17th, 2023. The CEO of the world's hottest AI company gets fired via Google Meet. 4 days later, he's back with more control than ever. Here's what actually went down. Friday, November 17th, 2023, 12:23 p.m. Pacific Time. Sam Altman is sitting in a hotel room in Las Vegas. He's at a developer conference, shaking hands, talking about the future of AI. His phone buzzes. It's a Google Meet link from Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's chief scientist, his co-founder, one of his closest colleagues. Altman clicks the link. On the screen, the entire OpenAI board, Ilya, Adam D'Angelo, Tasha McCauley, Helen Toner, their faces are serious. No pleasantries, no small talk. Sam, we're removing you as CEO, effective immediately. Pause. The board no longer has confidence in your ability to lead OpenAI. That's it, the call lasts maybe 3 minutes. Sam Altman, the guy who turned OpenAI from a research lab into a company worth $90 billion, who put ChatGPT in the hands of 100 million people faster than any product in history, has just been fired over Zoom. He sits there stunned, trying to process what just happened. Within hours, the news leaks, Twitter explodes. The tech world goes into complete chaos. Employees are threatening to quit. Microsoft's CEO is making emergency calls. Investors are panicking. And over the next 4 days, what unfolds is the most insane corporate drama Silicon Valley has ever seen. A boardroom coup, a counter-coup, mass resignations, billion-dollar threats, and a power struggle that would determine who actually controls the future of artificial intelligence. By Tuesday, Sam Altman walks back into OpenAI headquarters, not as a returning CEO, as something more powerful. This is the story of those 5 days, and what they reveal about power, loyalty, and the battle for AI's future. I'm Alex Morgan, this is Behind the Billion. Today we're breaking down the 5 craziest days in Silicon Valley history. The week Sam Altman got fired from OpenAI, then came back more powerful than he left. Now I've spent the last 3 weeks reconstructing this story. I've read every leaked memo, every employee tweet, every interview with people who were in the building. I've gone through board documents, Microsoft's public statements, and pieced together a timeline that honestly sounds like a Netflix show. Here's what I found. This wasn't just a firing. This was a philosophical war over the future of artificial intelligence. On one side, you had people who believed OpenAI was moving too fast, getting too commercial, losing sight of its safety mission. On the other side, you had people who believed the only way to build safe AI was to actually build it, fast, at scale, with real-world feedback. The tension had been building for over a year, and it finally exploded on a Friday afternoon in November. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what happened, who made which moves, and what this whole thing teaches us about power, governance, and what happens when billions of dollars collide with existential questions about technology. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about how we got here. Okay, so first, who is Sam Altman? Because if you only know him from ChatGPT, you're missing like 15 years of backstory that explains everything about why this whole situation played out the way it did. Sam Altman is 38 years old. He grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, middle-class family, smart kid, goes to Stanford to study computer science. Drops out after 2 years to start a company called Looped, basically a location-sharing app before smartphones were really a thing. Company doesn't become huge, but it gets acquired for $43 million in 2012. Not a massive exit, but enough to put Sam on the map. And more importantly, it gets him connected to Y Combinator, the startup accelerator that funded companies like Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe, DoorDash, the place that basically prints billion-dollar companies. In 2014, Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, steps down and hands the keys to Sam Altman. Sam's 28 years old at this point, and he becomes the president of the most influential startup accelerator in the world. Now, here's what people don't realize about Sam's time at YC. He didn't just fund companies. He started thinking about existential risk, about AI, about what happens when technology gets powerful enough to reshape civilization. He starts having conversations with people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, people who are thinking about the long-term future. And in 2015, Sam co-founds OpenAI with Elon Musk, Ilya Sutskever, Greg Brockman, and a few others. The founding idea? Pretty straightforward. AI is going to be the most important technology in human history. If we're not careful, it could be catastrophic, so let's build it in the open. Let's make it safe. Let's make sure it benefits everyone, not just a few big tech companies. They structure it as a nonprofit. They raise $1 billion in commitments. The mission statement literally says, OpenAI's mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. Notice that phrase, artificial general intelligence. Not just chatbots, not just image generators, AGI, human-level intelligence, the thing that could automate everything. So that's the setup, that's the mission. Build the most powerful technology ever created. Make sure it's safe, make sure it's aligned with human values, and do it all as a nonprofit, open to the world. Sounds great, right? Here's the problem: that model doesn't work. Okay, so it's 2017. OpenAI has been operating for 2 years. They've hired a bunch of brilliant researchers. They're publishing papers. They're making progress on reinforcement learning, on neural networks, on language models. But they're burning through money fast. AI research is expensive. You need GPUs, lots of them. You need data. You need the best engineers, and those engineers cost millions of dollars in salary. And you're competing against Google, which has basically infinite resources. Elon Musk wants OpenAI to go harder, to compete directly with DeepMind, Google's AI lab. But Sam and the others realize something: they can't compete as a nonprofit. They just don't have the capital. So in 2019, OpenAI does something controversial. They restructure. They create a new entity, OpenAI LP. It's a cap-profit company. Investors can put in money and get returns, but only up to 100x their investment. After that, all profits go back into the mission. It's a hybrid model, part nonprofit, part for profit. The nonprofit board still controls everything, but now they can raise serious money. And they do. Microsoft invests $1 billion, then another billion, then another. By 2023, Microsoft has put in $13 billion and owns 49% of OpenAI's for-profit arm. Meanwhile, Elon Musk leaves. He's worried about conflicts of interest with Tesla's AI work. He's also frustrated with the direction. He thinks OpenAI is moving away from the original open-source mission. And honestly, he's not wrong. OpenAI isn't really open anymore. They're not publishing all their research. They're keeping GPT-3 behind an API. They're acting more like a company than a research lab. But here's Sam's argument, and I've heard him explain this in multiple interviews. He says, look, we tried the nonprofit model. It didn't work. The only way to build AGI safely is to actually build it. And to build it, we need resources. We need capital. We need the best talent. And to get that, we need to be competitive with Google and Meta. So OpenAI starts shipping products. GPT-3 API launches in 2020. DALL-E comes out in 2021. And then in November 2022, they release ChatGPT. And the world loses its mind. ChatGPT hits 1 million users in 5 days. Fastest product to 100 million users in history. It's on the news every night. Everyone's using it. Students, programmers, writers, lawyers. It's the first AI product that actually feels magical to normal people. OpenAI's valuation goes from maybe $20 billion to $90 billion in less than a year. Sam Altman is on the cover of magazines. He's testifying in front of Congress. He's meeting with world leaders. And inside OpenAI, tension is building. Okay, so here's where the philosophical split starts to happen. There are basically 2 camps inside OpenAI, and this divide has existed from the beginning, but it gets more intense as the company gets more successful. Camp 1, the safety-first people. These are researchers who are genuinely worried about existential risk. They think AI could be dangerous. They think we're moving too fast. They think OpenAI is prioritizing growth over safety. Key people in this camp: Ilya Sutskever, some of the alignment researchers, and importantly, some of the board members. Camp 2, the move fast and build people. These are folks who think the best way to make AI safe is to actually build it, deploy it, get real-world feedback, and iterate. They think staying small and cautious just means Google or Meta will build it first and maybe not as safely. Key people in this camp: Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, most of the product and engineering teams. Now, both camps care about safety. That's important to understand. This isn't good guys versus bad guys. It's a genuine disagreement about strategy. But throughout 2023, the tension escalates. There's a research paper published by Helen Toner, one of the board members, that's critical of OpenAI's approach. Sam apparently wasn't happy about it. There are internal debates about whether to release GPT-4 and how cautious to be. There's frustration from some researchers that Sam is spending too much time on external stuff, testifying to Congress, doing press, fundraising, and not enough time on the safety work. And then there's the board structure itself, which is weird. OpenAI's board has 6 members. 3 of them are independent directors with no financial stake in the company: Adam D'Angelo, CEO of Quora; Tasha Macaulay, entrepreneur and AI safety advocate; Helen Toner, AI policy researcher. Then you've got Ilya Sutskever, chief scientist; Greg Brockman, president; and Sam Altman, CEO. But here's the thing: the independent directors control the majority. They can make decisions without the employees or investors having a say. This is by design. Remember, the nonprofit board is supposed to protect the mission above all else, even if it means sacrificing profits. In theory, this structure makes sense. In practice, it creates a situation where 3 people who don't work at the company day-to-day can fire the CEO without any approval from employees or investors. Which is exactly what happens. Okay, so we're back to that Friday. Sam's in Vegas, he gets the Google Meet link, he joins the call, and the board tells him, "We're removing you as CEO, we've lost confidence in your leadership." The stated reason: Sam was not consistently candid in his communications with the board. That's it, that's the official reason, not fraud, not misconduct, just lack of candor. Now, I've read everything I can find about what this actually means, and honestly, it's still pretty vague. The board never specifies exactly what Sam wasn't candid about. Different reports suggest different things. Some say it was about safety concerns that Sam downplayed. Some say it was about side projects Sam was working on, like a new AI chip company. Some say it was about the pace of product launches and commercialization. Some say there were interpersonal conflicts between Sam and some board members. But here's what we know for sure: the decision was made by 4 board members: Ilya, Adam, Tasha, and Helen. Greg Brockman, the president and Sam's closest ally, wasn't consulted. Employees weren't consulted. Microsoft wasn't consulted. The board just pulls the trigger. They tell Sam he's out. They tell him Greg is being removed from the board but can stay as president. They draft a blog post announcing the change. They appoint Myra Murati, the CTO, as interim CEO. And here's the crazy part: they thought this would work. They thought they could fire the CEO of a $90 billion company over a Google Meet call, announce it on a blog, and everyone would just accept it. They were very, very wrong. Within hours of the announcement, OpenAI Slack is on fire. Employees are furious, they're confused, they're demanding answers, and the board isn't giving them any. The blog post just says Sam is out because of a lack of candid communication. That's it, no details, no explanation. Greg Brockman finds out he's been removed from the board by reading the blog post. He immediately resigns, posts on Twitter, "Based on today's news, I quit." Then other executives start resigning. OpenAI's VP of Research posts, "This is insane. Sam and Greg built this place." By Friday night, dozens of employees are threatening to quit. Senior researchers, engineers who have been there since the beginning. People are saying, "If Sam's out, I'm out." And then Microsoft enters the chat. Satya Nadella, Microsoft's CEO, the guy who just put $13 billion into OpenAI, finds out about the firing from the news. Not from the board, from Twitter. He's reportedly furious. Microsoft's entire AI strategy is built on OpenAI. They've integrated GPT-4 into Bing, into Office, into Azure. This partnership is the centerpiece of their AI push. And now the CEO just got fired with no warning. Satya starts making calls. He reaches out to Sam. He reaches out to the board. He's trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Meanwhile, Sam's at home in San Francisco. He's processing. He's talking to Greg. They're trying to understand the situation. And Sam starts getting messages from employees, from investors, from other CEOs. Everyone's saying the same thing: "This is wrong, come back, we'll support you." By Saturday morning, it's clear OpenAI's employees don't support this decision at all. Okay, so now it's the weekend, and behind the scenes, there's this intense negotiation happening. The board realizes they have a problem. They thought they could just install Myra as CEO and move forward, but Myra doesn't want the job permanently. And more importantly, the employees are revolting. So they start negotiating with Sam about coming back. Multiple reports say that Ilya, the chief scientist who voted to fire Sam, is already having regrets. Apparently, he thought the board would have more support. He didn't expect the employee reaction. Sam's willing to talk, but he has conditions. He wants the board restructured. He wants the people who fired him, specifically Adam D'Angelo, Tasha McCauley, and Helen Toner, removed. He wants a new board that actually represents stakeholders, employees, investors, maybe even Microsoft. The negotiations go back and forth all weekend. At one point, it seems like they're close to a deal. And then Sunday night, it falls apart. The board decides they're not going to bring Sam back. Instead, they announce they're hiring a new CEO, Emmett Shear, the former CEO of Twitch. This does not go over well. Emmett's a respected guy in tech, but he's not an AI researcher, he's not an OpenAI insider, and most importantly, he's not Sam Altman. OpenAI employees lose their minds. They start drafting a letter. Monday morning, November 20th. An open letter starts circulating among OpenAI employees. The letter is addressed to the board, and it's not polite. It says, "We, the undersigned employees of OpenAI, demand the resignation of the current board and the reinstatement of Sam Altman as CEO. If the board does not comply, we will resign and join Sam at whatever company he starts next." Within hours, over 500 employees sign it. That's like 90% of the company. Senior researchers sign it. The people building GPT-5 sign it. Ilya Sutskever, the guy who voted to fire Sam, signs it. He posts on Twitter, "I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I will do everything I can to reunite the company." This is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this in corporate history. The entire company is basically saying, "We don't work for the board, we work for Sam, and if Sam's gone, we're gone." And here's the other shoe that drops. Microsoft makes an announcement. Satya Nadella tweets, "We're pleased to announce that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman will be joining Microsoft to lead a new advanced AI research team." Think about what this means. Microsoft just offered to hire Sam, Greg, and anyone who wants to come with them. They'll build a competing AI lab inside Microsoft, with OpenAI's talent, with Microsoft's resources. This is a nuclear option. If OpenAI's employees actually leave, the company is done. They'll have no researchers, no engineers, no product team. They'll just be a board and a brand name. The board is now facing complete collapse. Tuesday, November 21st. The board folds. They announced that Sam Altman is returning as CEO. Adam D'Angelo stays on the board, but Tasha McCauley and Helen Toner resign. A new board is formed with Brett Taylor, former co-CEO of Salesforce, as chairman and Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary, as a member. Sam walks back into OpenAI headquarters. Employees are cheering, people are crying. It's this surreal, emotional scene. Greg Brockman is back, the execs who resigned are back, the company is intact. But here's the thing, Sam doesn't come back in the same position he left. He comes back with way more power. The old board, the one that could fire him, is gone. The new board is much more aligned with the for-profit side of the company. Microsoft has more informal influence, and Sam has proven something crucial. The company is loyal to him, not to the board. It's a complete reversal. In 5 days, Sam went from fired CEO to the most powerful person in AI. Okay, so now that we know the timeline, let's talk about what actually happened here. Because the surface story, board fires CEO, employees revolt, CEO returns, doesn't capture the deeper dynamics. This was a philosophical war that had been brewing for years. On one side, you had people who genuinely believed OpenAI was moving too fast, getting too commercial, losing sight of its safety mission. They looked at ChatGPT's explosive growth and thought, "We're playing with fire here, we need to slow down." On the other side, you had people who believed the mission was to build AGI, actually build it, and that the only way to do that safely was to do it first, do it well, and do it at scale. The board tried to assert control. They thought they had the authority to fire Sam and install a more cautious CEO. What they didn't realize is that authority on paper doesn't matter if you don't have legitimacy with the people doing the actual work. OpenAI's employees didn't care about the board's legal authority. They cared about who they trusted to lead them toward the mission, and overwhelmingly, they trusted Sam. There's this moment that stuck with me. After the whole thing was over, Sam did an interview where he said something like, "I learned that the org chart doesn't matter as much as I thought. What matters is trust and shared mission." And I think that's the key insight here. The board had formal power, but Sam had something more valuable. He had loyalty. He'd been in the trenches with these people, he'd hired them, he'd fought for their ideas, he'd built the culture, and when it came down to it, they chose him over the board. Now we have to talk about Microsoft, because their role in this is fascinating. Microsoft invested $13 billion into OpenAI. They own 49% of the for-profit entity. They've bet their entire AI strategy on this partnership. And when Sam got fired, they weren't just worried about their investment, they were worried about their entire future in AI. Satya Nadella's move was brilliant. He didn't try to force the board to reinstate Sam. He didn't threaten to pull funding. Instead, he made an offer. "Sam, come work for us. Bring your team. We'll give you resources, autonomy, and you'll build the next generation of AI inside Microsoft." This put immense pressure on the board, because now they're not just losing Sam, they're losing Sam to their biggest investor and partner. And if OpenAI's talent follows him to Microsoft, OpenAI becomes worthless overnight. It was a checkmate move. The board had no choice but to negotiate. And here's what's interesting. After this, Microsoft's position got even stronger. They're now even more embedded in OpenAI's governance. They have more informal influence. And Sam knows that Microsoft backed him when the board didn't. Some people say Microsoft basically executed a soft takeover of OpenAI during those 5 days. And honestly, they might not be wrong. So let's zoom out. What does this whole situation tell us about the future of AI? First, it tells us that governance structures matter a lot. OpenAI tried to create a structure where a nonprofit board could protect the mission even as the company became a commercial juggernaut. In theory, that's noble. In practice, it created a power vacuum that almost destroyed the company. Going forward, I think we're going to see AI companies rethink how they're governed. You can't have a board that's completely disconnected from the employees and investors who are actually building the product. That's not sustainable. Second, it tells us that the tension between safety and speed is real, and it's not going away. The people who wanted to fire Sam had legitimate concerns. AI is powerful, it's moving fast, we don't fully understand how these systems work, there are real risks. But the counter-argument that the only way to make AI safe is to build it and learn from it is also legitimate. This isn't a debate with a clear answer, and I think we're going to keep seeing this tension play out as AI gets more powerful. Third, it tells us something about Sam Altman as a leader. Love him or hate him, the guy survived a corporate coup and came back stronger. That takes a specific kind of skill. He built loyalty with his team. He maintained relationships with key partners like Microsoft. And when the crisis hit, he didn't panic. He let the employees advocate for him. There's a leadership lesson there. Power isn't just about your title or your authority on paper. It's about trust, relationships, and mission alignment. So where are we now, about a year after all this went down? OpenAI is still the most valuable AI company in the world. They've released GPT-4 Turbo, DALL-E 3, and a bunch of other products. Sam's still CEO. The company's reportedly raising more money at an even higher valuation. But the underlying tensions haven't disappeared. There are still people in the AI safety community who think OpenAI is moving too fast. There are still questions about how much control Microsoft really has, and there are still debates about what OpenAI's mission actually is at this point. Is it a nonprofit trying to benefit humanity, or is it a for-profit company trying to win the AI race? Can it be both? I don't know, and honestly, I don't think OpenAI knows either. What I do know is this: AI is moving incredibly fast. ChatGPT is just the beginning. We're talking about technology that could automate most knowledge work within a decade. That's not science fiction, that's the actual roadmap. And the organizations building this technology, they're fragile. They're held together by key people, by trust, by culture. OpenAI almost fell apart in 5 days. It could happen again to them, to Anthropic, to Google, to Meta. The stakes are insane, and the humans building this stuff, they're just humans. They make mistakes, they have conflicts, they disagree on strategy. That's what this story is really about. It's not about one CEO getting fired and coming back. It's about the messy, chaotic human process of building the most powerful technology in history. And we're right in the middle of it. Okay, so before we wrap up, let me pull out some lessons that I think apply beyond just AI companies. Lesson 1: loyalty is more powerful than authority. The OpenAI board had legal authority to fire Sam, but Sam had loyalty from the employees. When those two things came into conflict, loyalty won. As a leader, you can't just rely on your title. You have to earn trust with the people actually doing the work. Lesson 2: stakeholder alignment matters. OpenAI's governance structure created a situation where the board's incentives didn't align with employees or investors. That's a recipe for disaster. When you're building something big, make sure everyone's incentives are pointing in the same direction. Lesson 3: culture is your insurance policy. When the crisis hit, OpenAI's culture saved the company. Employees didn't just shrug and accept the board's decision. They fought for the leader they believed in. That's the result of years of building trust and shared mission. Culture isn't just touchy-feely stuff, it's strategic. Lesson 4: power dynamics shift fast. Sam went from fired to more powerful than ever in 5 days. Emmett Shear went from new CEO to irrelevant in about 36 hours. 3 board members went from in control to out of a job in less than a week. In high-stakes situations, power is fluid. Don't assume your position is stable. Lesson 5: know who your real stakeholders are. The board thought they could make this decision unilaterally. They forgot that employees, investors, and partners all have power too. Before making a major move, understand who actually has leverage and what they'll do if you make a decision they don't like. Lesson 6: communication matters a lot. The board's biggest mistake might have been how they handled communication. They gave vague reasons for firing Sam. They didn't consult key stakeholders. They assumed people would just accept their authority. That lack of communication turned a governance decision into an existential crisis. If you're making a major decision, especially one that'll be controversial, over-communicate, explain your reasoning, get buy-in from stakeholders, don't surprise people. Look, I'll be honest with you, when I started researching this story, I thought it would be pretty straightforward. CEO gets fired, employees revolt, CEO comes back, simple narrative. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized how complex it really is. This isn't a story about good guys and bad guys. The board members who voted to fire Sam, they weren't villains. They genuinely believed they were protecting OpenAI's mission. They were worried about safety. They thought Sam was moving too fast, getting too commercial. And they might not have been wrong about that. OpenAI has changed a lot since the early days. It's not really open anymore. It's backed by Microsoft. It's launching products fast. It's prioritizing growth. But the employees who fought for Sam, they weren't naive either. They believe the mission is to build AGI, and they think Sam's the best person to lead that effort. So who's right? I don't know. Maybe both sides are right. Maybe this is just one of those situations where there's no clear answer, just trade-offs. What I do know is this: we're living through the most important technological transition in human history. AI is going to change everything. How we work, how we learn, how we create. And the people building this technology, they're figuring it out as they go. There's no playbook for this, nobody's done it before, and that's both exciting and terrifying. The OpenAI coup, this 5-day period in November 2023, is going to be studied for decades. Business schools will write case studies about it. People will debate what the board should have done differently, what Sam should have done differently, what Microsoft's role really was. But for me, the biggest takeaway is this: even the most important companies in the world are held together by trust, culture, and human relationships. Take those away and everything falls apart fast. OpenAI survived because Sam built trust with his team, because employees believed in the mission, because key partners like Microsoft backed them. That's not unique to AI. That's true for any company, any team, any organization trying to do something ambitious. You can have the best technology, the best strategy, the best funding, but if you don't have trust, you have nothing. And in November 2023, OpenAI learned that lesson the hard way. So that's the story of Sam Altman's firing and return. The 5 craziest days in Silicon Valley history, the $90 billion coup nobody saw coming. Next week, we're looking at how Reed Hastings saved Netflix from bankruptcy in 2000, and the strategy he used that literally every streaming company is copying now. If you want to understand how Netflix went from mailing DVDs to dominating entertainment, you're going to want to catch that one. If this story made you think differently about leadership, power, or the future of AI, hit subscribe. I'm Alex Morgan. Thanks for listening. Behind the Billion examines how the world's most successful companies were actually built. Hosted by Alex Morgan, a former startup operator turned researcher who spent 7 years in the trenches before becoming obsessed with one question: why do some companies make it and others don't? New episodes every Wednesday and Saturday.